The so-called Great Repeal Bill is causing many teddies to be thrown out of many cots. But what's all the fuss about? The Great Repeal Bill, or to give it its proper title, the European Union Withdrawal Bill, is a bridge. It is a bridge between a place where European Union law takes supremacy to a place where Westminster makes all our laws and our own Supreme Court has the final say. At present, EU law is enabled in our country via the European Communities Act 1972, called the ECA for short. Without the ECA, EU law would have no validity in the UK, so the ECA has to be repealed in full before we can call ourselves properly free of the EU. But if the ECA were to be repealed as a standalone procedure, many EU laws that govern how we run our lives today would also immediately disappear and chaos would ensue. This is because the primacy of EU law in the UK is derived from the very existence of the ECA. So what we need to do is repeal the ECA in such a way that keeps the laws we live by exactly the same before and after the ECA is repealed, except that we lose the whole EU tier in the process. Our politicians can then change the law via Acts of Parliament in the normal way, but without having to check that it is EU law compliant first. And that is exactly what the Withdrawal Bill is designed to do. One of the sticking points, though, is that no bill of this type could ever be perfect. So the government has written a procedure into the Withdrawal Bill whereby ministers can deal with any problems arising by making subsequent regulations, with the aim of preserving the continuity of the law. But this does hand those ministers a lot of power, as they could make regulations that go beyond just dealing with transitional problems into ones that make comprehensive changes to the law. That is where opposition talk of workers' rights being stripped away, etc. comes from. My response would be to tighten the wording down as far as possible to ensure that any such move by a minister would be so obviously ultra vires, or beyond their powers, so as to never be able to become law, although the wording does look pretty tight as it is written. So far it's been pretty straightforward, but now comes the interesting bit. I said at the beginning that the aim was, or should be, to keep the law the same throughout the process, so as to prevent uncertainty. But some, especially those on the Remain side of the argument who want to see this bill fail, want the Withdrawal Bill to make wholesale changes to the law. For example, Scottish, Welsh and Northern Ireland politicians are demanding that powers relating to devolved matters be passed directly from Brussels to them. Now, these politicians did not have those powers before the Withdrawal Act, so they should not have them afterwards, or the law will have changed, and uncertainty could follow. All powers should be passed from Brussels to Westminster for later discussion. The trouble is that, after the mess the Tories made of the snap general election, the DUP and their own Scottish Conservatives are in a position to scupper the whole thing unless Theresa May agrees to hand over those powers. Not an ideal place to be. Next, those on the left are insisting that workers' rights are somehow enshrined in this Withdrawal Bill, which would in turn it into some sort of Bill of Rights, not just a simple legal bridge. And this is being seized upon by hardened Remainers like the Lib Dems as a way of bringing down the bill and the Prime Minister in their efforts to keep us in the EU. For example, Labour MP Sir Keir Starmer said, "It fails to guarantee crucial rights will be enforced. It omits the EU Charter of Fundamental Rights, and it does nothing to ensure that British standards and rights keep pace with our EU partners." He seems to have missed the whole point. Firstly, the law the day after it is enacted will be the same with regard to rights as it was the day before. So what's the issue? Also, it then becomes up to UK politicians to take the law forward. And do you think Theresa May is in a position to sweep away workers' rights or force the needy into the poorhouse? No, so that's not a problem either. Then there's the issue of keeping pace with standards and rights in the EU. That's the whole point. We don't have to. It will be up to our politicians, elected by us, to shape our standards and rights for us, the people of the UK. Who knows, we might end up with more rights and higher standards than the EU. Unless Labour is saying they won't look to improve them either if they got into power. What I don't get is that once the Withdrawal Bill goes through and we are free of the EU, our politicians can really get on and make a difference without a bunch of bureaucrats checking their every move. If I were in their shoes, I would be looking forward to this most liberating of opportunities. What are your thoughts on the Great Repeal Bill? Please leave a comment below. Thank you. Please do like and share this video, and also subscribe to my channel. And when subscribing, please do remember to press on the little bell next to the subscribe button. That way you'll get an alert every single time I put up a new video. Thank you very much for watching.